family. Welcome back. I'm so excited. I am one of your hosts today, Lisa Lopez-Griggs, right here at the F.E.E.D. And got our producer in the background, Michael Hall. So excited, Michael. Just an awesome gentleman. Love when you come on, Michael, with us, and I hope that you'll pop in today. We have a really special guest. She's actually one of the first women and that I met on this journey of basically wanting to get my questions answered around SUDEP, which is sudden death in epilepsy. 1 out of 1,000 epileptics die from SUDEP, and we don't even know how accurate those numbers are. There are 50 million epileptics worldwide that are still believing for a cure with this chronic illness. And our guest today that's going to be coming on, I'm going to tell you all about her in just a second. But before we do that, I wanted to just thank all of you that are here for the first time. Don't forget, go to facesofelepsy.me. That is our Facebook community. We are at 1,800 right now, which is also a big reason to celebrate. We're almost at 1,900 in that group. Also, we would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is facesofelepsy.live. We've got a lot of amazing content there. And we also are on TikTok and Instagram and just all the fun places for social media. The other thing that we're doing is we have partnered with Love Your Melon. And they do beanies, beautiful beanies, and we're still giving these away. So make sure that you keep liking and subscribing and posting content and engaging in the groups. We'll know it, and we'll make sure that you get one of these for free. There's absolutely no charge to you. It's absolutely free. It's our gift to you with Love Your Melon. They make these beanies actually for cancer patients, but they partnered with Faces of Epilepsy to be able to get these in your hands. So make sure that you're liking, commenting, subscribing, and just being an overall amazing human with sharing about epilepsy and the awareness and just the big cause that we have here at the Faces of Epilepsy and the F.E.E.D Everyday. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest. I'm just going to speak from the heart. I'm not going to read too many notes about her because I got introduced to her very early on when we were just starting to put Faces of Epilepsy together. It's been quite an emotional journey for me, mostly because, losing my son to epilepsy, I was never really involved with any epilepsy communities. I didn't have any friends that had epilepsy or parents that I could just glean from. Just process through all the grief of losing my son to SUDEP and really not even understanding what that was. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what SUDEP was. I didn't know that someone could die from sudden death and epilepsy in their sleep. I thought maybe there might be a chance I would lose my son to having a seizure. But in that moment, I didn't know that there was such a thing as SUDEP. And she wanted to do an interview with me. She was doing a really cool thing on social media. I thought pretty much it was her job. She acts like her advocacy is what she does full time. So I pretty much thought, oh, she must do this as a job. She must get paid for this, because she is bringing so much advocacy and she's everywhere just with the social media. She was doing something called 30 Faces and 30 days in the month of Epilepsy Awareness Month, which happens to be November. And I had lost my son in October. So it was very, very early on in the grief process. And she said to me, I would love to do an interview with you. Would you be willing to do an interview? And I said, sure, I would love to do that with you. And we did. It was one of my first interviews I ever did. And I think that may even be how Mike, our producer of the F.E.E.D, saw what I was doing with Faces of Epilepsy and just wanting to try to find a cure and try to find a way to help mitigate, seizures and seizure activity for epileptics and how we could do it through diet. And that's also a big, a kind of like background that she has is that She is, very fit. She really believes strongly in nutrition and health, and just diet, and the way that we can help our epilepsy through diet, and taking care of our body and what the things that we put in our body. And so later in life, when she was around 45, she even got into bodybuilding, and even like did some contests and won some contests and did some amazing things. And she's been seizure free for quite some time now. And I believe that largely that has to do with her diet. And I'm sure she's going to speak into that today. The other thing that she does is she has an amazing program called Reset. And it also has to do with, a nonprofit that she started called Auraclipse. And so we're going to talk all about that today. And so it is my pleasure and it's my honor. And I love you so much, Monica Lopez-Morales. We want to bring you on. I got to hug your neck last week here in Nevada, and I don't want to lose, my composure right now because, you had your little service dog with you, Moki, and we met at this beautiful outdoor cafe in Tivoli Village here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I feel like I've known you forever. And now we are doing some amazing things with trying to pass some legislation, here in Las Vegas with regard to seizure safety in schools, which can't even believe we don't have, more laws in place here in Nevada to help, epileptics and certainly students with seizure safety medications and rescue medications. And so we have a tremendous amount to unpack today. And I'm wondering how we're going to be able to do all this in 1 hour. I might have to be quiet and you just talk, but I want to start here. And just thank you so much for being on, because we've wanted to have you on for so long. I want you to start with how your journey began with epilepsy, because this is something that you have fought for 4 decades. Okay. It's not like you were just diagnosed yesterday. So where did this start, and how have you dealt with this for the last 4 decades of your life?
Ooh, well, first of all, thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I feel the same about you. Thank you. How you have affected my life has been amazing. You've just been a blessing for me. So thank you. And thank you for inviting me here on here. But yes, so I have been living with epilepsy for over 45 years now. I was officially diagnosed when I was 10 because I had my first convulsion in school. But I can now say that I was having seizure activities and seizures way before that. I think my earliest recollection that I can remember was probably when I was about 5 years old. So for at least 5 years, I was having unrecognized focal aware seizures, because as you know, there's so many different types of seizures. Some of them are very subtle. Some of them have no outer symptoms whatsoever. And so those are the ones that I was kind of feeling as a child. But when I did have my first convulsion at school, that's where my medical journey began, I guess. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey. Epilepsy is a journey about discovery. Your seizures change. I'm currently 52. I'll be 53 this year. So one of my biggest amazements has been how my seizures have changed throughout the chapters of my life, from childhood, adolescent, being a young adult, motherhood, all the way to the stages that I find myself in. And I think that's something that not a lot of people talk about. So I decided to start Auraclipse. So what came from personal advocacy just kind of evolved into Auraclipse. And Auraclipse is a mission-driven initiative that is focused on supporting and empowering individuals and families that live with epilepsy, while also transforming how epilepsy is understood and recognized. So the whole thing begins with the Reset training program, which stands for Recognizing Epilepsy, Seizure, and Training Education. And the goal with Reset is to reset the patient's mind on how they see their diagnosis, and also resetting the way that the public understands epilepsy, as well as resetting the medical and research community and how they treat us with epilepsy, and treating us not just treating the seizure, but treating the person. I'm very passionate about people understanding that epilepsy care needs to include in mental health. Mental health is
Good.
part of it, a big
Mhm.
part of it. And with that comes nutrition, and a lot of other things, right? So Auraclipse offers a variety of different programs. I invite you to go in and see the website.
Mhm.
And we do so many different things from um, helping helping people living with epilepsy understand what it is, educating them about it, and then helping them accept it. You know, it's
Yeah.
because it's a process, it's a journey. And when you first get diagnosed, there's a lot of denial that comes
Mhm.
into it. And
Mhm.
if you're young, like a child or your adolescence years, there's a lot of rebellion that comes into it because you didn't ask for this. You know,
Yeah.
your life completely changes overnight. The way you knew the world just completely changes. Um, so there's a lot that you need to go through in terms of being able to accept it. It's not an overnight process, right? So that's
Mhm.
something as a coach that I kind of help people through that process and find out where they are on their epilepsy journey and try to get them to that place. I think once you are able to accept it,
Mhm.
um, you're able to move forward and learn how to live your life to the fullest, navigating whatever your limitations are.
Mhm.
Because we do have limitations, you know,
Mhm.
we're all different. Epilepsy is different for everyone. So trying to figure out what those limitations are, what your triggers are, what your auras are, if you have auras,
Good.
um, and how to take care of yourself and just help you find the way that you can live your life to the best, you know, that
Mhm.
you possibly can, which is possible. You know, epilepsy is not a death sentence. You could still live with this, you know? And one of the things that I have found through the years that I've been doing advocacy work is that epilepsy is more than just medications.
Mhm. Mhm. It's good.
Um, there's connection and community that needs to be part of the healing process, not just
Mhm.
for the individual, but for the family as well, right? Because this
Mhm.
condition affects the family. It's not just one person. And everyone has like their role in it, right? So Auraclipse offers programs for connection and community, such as support groups. We have support groups where we meet every week. We
Mhm.
have a social hour where people living with epilepsy can get together and do some activity like bowling,
Mhm.
or we've gone to watch a movie together, different things like that. Because a lot of people living with epilepsy live in isolation for fear of not having a seizure in public. They refuse to leave their house. You know, so being able to bring them out of their house at least once a month is huge for me. And watching them make those friendships and seeing that there are other people, that they're not alone, basically, which is my big
Mhm.
thing. Is
Mhm.
like, you're not
Mhm.
alone. You are
Mhm.
not alone in this.
Mhm.
It completely changes the person and the way that they see themselves and their diagnosis. And that kind of leads them to feel a sort of desire, I guess is the word, desire to move forward, you know, and get that acceptance and learn how to feel empowered, you know, because being able to understand what your auras are, understand what your triggers are, gives you some sort of empowerment to, okay, if I
Mhm.
take care of
Mhm.
myself this way, if I stick to
Mhm.
my routines, if I eat what I'm supposed to
Mhm.
eat, you know, that's a sense of empowerment. Like you have control over something that you thought you didn't, and that then leads to expression. And so
Mhm.
helping them see how they can find outlets to express that. So we have a program that's called Artists with Epilepsy. Amazing artwork, amazing
Mhm.
artwork. These people are so talented. So being able to give a platform to show that, you know, I'm by trade, I'm a graphic designer. So I'm an artist by nature. So I absolutely love that, you know, and then just moving on to advocacy and doing outreach work and, you know, just having a community impact out there. So that's kind of
Mhm.
a whole wrap on what Auraclipse is, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, and kind of where, so like, there's so much there. As far as with being 10 years old and being diagnosed and living with it for so long, I think it's amazing that you articulated that so beautifully, that there's stages that you go through, the stages of being diagnosed, and the grief that can even, that could be very heavy being diagnosed as a young person, taking the hit of not driving, possibly having to be on medications for the rest of your life, all the
Right.
stigma, the shame, the uncertainty, the
Right.
insecurity, the parents hovering now all of a sudden, even more than they already are. There's such a dynamic there. When you were 10 years old and you started transitioning through life, meaning hormonally, you were 10 years old, then you start to become a young woman, then you become a mom. What were you facing through those transitions? Because I think that's very relatable to our audience today. I think our audience is going to say, I was diagnosed younger. I went through all these transitions and then eventually became a mom. How did
Right.
you, what was going on and how did you navigate that journey?
Well, I think one of my biggest passions is being able to educate people on seizure recognition. Because, like I said, I went so many years without anyone knowing I was having a seizure, including
Mhm,
myself. That kind of became my norm, right? So, what we found is that for a lot of girls, for a lot of women, the seizures or the epilepsy is connected to their hormones. So there's specifically what is referred to or called catamenial epilepsy for women. So every month with their cycle, I was most prone to having seizures the week before and the week of my seizures. So all of that was confusing. You know,
mhm,
you're a kid and you're a teen to begin with, and you have to deal with all that you have to deal with what comes with that age, but then you add on this kind of stuff,
mhm,
and
mhm,
it can be confusing and it can be hard.
mhm,
And I remember there were also side effects to medications. I
mhm,
was put on Keppra, you know, and Keppra, I'm sure
mhm,
you're aware of the Keppra rage.
mhm,
So for my parents, them thinking I was just being a rebellious teen or an angry teen and not realizing it was the medication that was
mhm,
causing me to behave this
mhm,
way.
mhm,
Um, so feeling angry about the medications, then feeling angry about having epilepsy, you know, and
mhm,
feeling angry about just being a teen and not knowing why, was a really, really difficult, dark time. And this, I think, is where family support really,
mhm,
really matters. I think this is where parents really need to educate themselves and understand that it's more than just that seizure that you're seeing. You know, there's a lot of mental and emotional uh, concerns that come into play. You deal with a lot of depression,
mhm,
anxiety, you know, PTSD,
mhm.
suicide ideation, and that kinda you carry that, you know, I've carried that through the years, and at this point, I've learned how to deal with them, right? But there's a lot of people that don't know how to do that yet, and
Where
that's
do people go? It's because I think that is a very, very valid point that you're making there. It's huge. I don't want our audience to miss that, Monica. Where do people go? The parents aren't educated, myself included, because obviously I'm even learning right now from you. Never took into that side piece of the fact that my son was diagnosed at 14 and also got on Keppra and was completely having the rage and homicidal, suicidal. I mean, it was crazy. It was like he turned into a different child. We finally changed his medication to Depakote because it was so bad, because they were wanting to put him on other medications, psychiatric medications, because of the Keppra.
right.
So I saw that same thing that you're talking about, the rebellion, the isolation, the lack of
Yep.
motivation, that, his whole personality changed. Two things. Where can adolescents go? Where can they turn to? And then where can the parents go? What do you suggest, knowing everything that you know about with what you're doing with reset and education and different things and awareness?
I think the first thing that needs to be said is that you need to talk about it. You need to talk about it with your child. You need to ask the questions. The child
Mhm,
might not even realize that any of that has to do with the medications or the diagnosis. You know, so you need to ask, are you feeling this? Have you been feeling this? I heard about this. You know, is this something that you feel? Or if you do feel this, you know,
mhm,
bring it to my attention. From there, I think you need to talk to your physician about it. If there's a mental health person like a counselor, a therapist, or anyone else that can come in, I believe that should be part of the care team for the person. It should not
mhm,
just be the neurologist, it should
mhm,
not
mhm,
just be the epileptologist, but there should be a counselor or a therapist or someone with that degree, right, that can help. And then Thank God in today's world, we have a lot of seizure awareness, a lot of teens and children that can talk to one another through support groups online, right?
Mhm,
Not every city has support groups, but if you do,
mhm,
you should go
mhm,
check them out. If not, there's
mhm,
so many online. The Epilepsy Foundation is the first place that I always tell people is a great resource. They
mhm,
have
mhm,
everything and anything on there that you could be looking for and things that
mhm.
you don't even realize that you need to look into,
Right.
right? And then from there, individual, like, other nonprofit organizations, again, like mine, Auraclipse, I help people go through those chapters, like I said. And what makes mine different is that it's coming from lived experience. I
Okay.
share,
Yep.
I understand.
Mhm,
I go
mhm,
beyond the basics of
mhm,
first aid.
mhm,
I know what those dark moments feel like. I know what it is. Um, and I know how to go past that. And for me, that was acceptance. Once I was able to accept my diagnosis, it was like, okay, I'm free. Now, how do I live with this thing? Right. And I
Yep.
think as a woman, that's where you kind of move on to the next phase and deal with, what does my future look like?
Mhm,
You know,
mhm,
what am I gonna get to do? And so for every "you can't do that" that I received, I was like, "Yes, I can, watch me." So I was told I couldn't go to college, I couldn't further my education, and I
mhm,
was like, "Yeah, I can, watch me." And I was told I couldn't do certain things, I couldn't get married, I couldn't have kids,
mhm, mhm,
and
mhm,
I've been blessed that I have been able to do all that, but
mhm,
I've been very careful in taking care of myself. So I take
mhm,
my medicine religiously. I've never been off the medication.
mhm,
Um, I think we finally found the best combination for me when I was about
mhm.
15, and
Good.
I've been on that since because
Mhm,
that transitional period, I think parents also need to keep that in mind, just how
mhm,
difficult that is.
mhm,
Like you say, your son got off Keppra, but then was put on another one. Well, that other one might have different side effects.
mhm.
I remember Depakote, you said, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think for that one, for me, just got me really sleepy. I think
Yeah.
it gave me tremors.
Mhm.
Um, so just having
Yes.
to deal with that is just,
Mhm,
understanding and having compassion, for the individual, especially in this teen phase that's going through that. And one of the things I'm also very passionate about is having that individual understand what their family is going through
mhm, mhm,
because, it's difficult for you guys. You guys see the seizures. We don't
mhm,
see it. We don't feel it. We don't remember it, but you guys do. And I think it's important for the person to take that into consideration. And once they do, it's easier for them to accept the parent who may seem like they're that helicopter parent, but they're really
mhm,
not. It's coming
mhm,
from a
mhm,
place of love and concern, right? And as a
mhm.
teen, it's kind of difficult to see that. So I try to help them with that as well. But yeah, I mean, it just learning how to go through the different phases of your life. Once I was able to be pregnant, I did have seizures while I was pregnant in both my pregnancies.
Mm.
Um, so obviously that was a big concern.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried not to focus on that.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, let me just take care of myself and not focus on
Mhm,
that, nor,
mhm.
are there going to be side effects?
Yeah.
My medication was increased instead of decrease, which happens a lot because,
Mhm.
our hormones and everything changes while we're pregnant. But thank God both my children came out fine. Um,
When you
yeah,
have seizures during your pregnancy, does that affect, the baby that's in utero?
it can.
It
It
can.
can,
Okay.
definitely, especially the length of time. If a seizure goes over 5 minutes, it is a medical emergency, and you may start losing some oxygen. So if
Mhm,
you're pregnant,
mhm,
those are things that you need to keep in account. One of my biggest fears was, what if I have a seizure while I'm delivering in labor? I mean, that kept me up at nights. I would cry over
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the
and,
insecurity, I'm so sorry.
yeah,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah,
'cause you can literally have a seizure anytime,
yeah.
anywhere, so
I wanna speak into our audience for a minute for, women that may be listening to this. If you are a young woman and you wanna have a family, and you are epileptic, I want you to really take to heart, that this show right now, this interview is for you, that you don't have to kind of rest in that place of fear and insecurity. Your faith can carry you through that. And just as
Absolutely.
Monica has said, you can pray, and you can seek God, to help you to get through those moments. But don't give up on your dream of having a family. Monica, that's what I'm hearing, is that,
Absolutely.
even though there was a fear there, you still were able to get through it. And you didn't have a seizure when you gave birth. So you were able to get
Um,
through that, or you did, or how was
I
the
I
birthing
I had
process?
what are called the auras, like
Mm-hmm.
the focal aware seizures, so I did have those, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a convulsion. I didn't have a tonic-clonic seizure.
Mm-hmm.
But making that decision was, it was tough. It's not
Mm-hmm.
easy, you really have to think about it, keep everything in mind, and I don't think it is a solo decision. It was something that I had to come to the table with my husband before we got married.
Mm-hmm.
Before we got married, I had to put everything out there and say, "I don't know if I can have seizures. I mean, if I can have children. And if I do, I don't know if they'll come out okay, if there'll be
Mm-hmm.
some sort of side effect."
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that was a decision. We finally said, let's just do this and we leave it in God's hands. God will send me what he thinks that I can handle, right?
Amen to
So,
that. How did that, we've had conversations around that, and this interview is so beautiful because it's just so unscripted. I just want to remind our audience, I am not married to my notes right now. Okay. I'm just letting you know this is completely unscripted, and raw. How we've talked about it on the show before. It's a question that's come up in the dating, with regard to having epilepsy. When in the phase of you, courting with your husband, did you tell him that you had epilepsy? Was it early on? And then when you started talking about marriage and children, was that right away as well, or did you wait?
so disclosure with epilepsy is a sensitive subject amongst our
Mhm,
epilepsy community because some
mhm,
people choose not to do that, right?
mhm,
And everyone has their own reason.
mhm,
I am completely the opposite. I say it to everyone. I let everyone know because I believe that that is how I'm going to be safe, and
mhm,
I believe that the person has a right to know because it's a very
mhm,
scary convulsions
mhm,
can be very
mhm,
scary and traumatizing, right?
mhm,
But if you let the person know, "Hey, I have seizures, I have epilepsy, this is what you need to do for me," because
mhm,
everyone's different, right?
mhm,
That's just how I've always been.
mhm,
Like I said, they were connected to my menstrual cycle, so we
mhm.
knew I would always have one every month.
Yeah.
So my mom would inform the school, like, call the principal, "This is Monica's week." Principal would let the teacher know, the teacher would
Mhm,
let some of the students know. So for
mhm,
me, I was never embarrassed or ashamed of
mhm,
that. I've always been open about it. When it came to dating, some people could handle it and some people can't.
mhm. Yeah.
Everything's fine until you see the seizure.
Mhm,
Those
mhm,
few minutes, those 30 seconds can seem like a lifetime, right? And some people can handle it okay and some people can't. And that's fine. That's what you want to know.
mhm, mhm.
I don't have a right to put that on anyone.
Yeah.
So when it came to my husband, I think it was a year into our relationship before he saw the actual seizure. And
Mm.
it was difficult for him, and I did tell him, I said, "Once you see a seizure, everything will change," and sure enough, that's what happens. That's how it affects the caregiver, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It can cause them PTSD. It can cause them
100%.
anxiety. It
Yeah.
causes them the same mental health
Yeah.
concerns that we.
Mhm.
That's why I think it's important for caregivers to also seek out community, seek out
Mhm,
support
mhm,
groups, seek out,
mhm,
counselors or therapists, whatever you need, because you need it as well. You guys are walking alongside us with this
mhm,
epilepsy. And
mhm.
you mentioned the campaign that I did in November.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I did it, 30 voices for 30 days, because I
Yeah.
feel like not enough not enough conversations are geared towards caregivers. And you guys see so much and go through so much, you know?
Mhm.
And I think that's another thing that I try to stress when I do my coaching is it's sometimes it's unfair for you guys for us to just have a seizure, get up and okay, move on with life, and you guys are left with the, oh, how do I handle this visual? How do I handle, if something falls, you quickly like, oh my God,
Exactly.
are you okay? Are you okay? So
Mhm.
that's why I mean, like, it doesn't just affect the one person, but
Mhm.
I think the family unit, at least for me, it's made my family
Yes.
stronger, you
Mhm.
know?
It's good.
Um, I have had a lot of support. I've been blessed with my family, extended
Mhm.
family,
Mhm.
friends. I've never had a problem with that.
Mhm.
Other than work, I have been fired for having too many seizures at
Wow.
work, which is something that happens,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
On the job seizures or seizures that just wiped you out where you couldn't get to work that day? Because I think that
Both.
also happens,
Mhm,
for a
mhm.
lot of people. Yeah.
And I'm
Um,
talking about way back before there was any remote,
right.
work, and
Work.
now at least we have that opportunity,
Mhm.
yeah, but back then, so yeah, learning how to navigate epilepsy as a young adult was very different than learning how to navigate it as a child, so that's what I mean about going through different stages. Pregnancy, I had to take care of myself in a different way.
Mhm.
Once my children were born, I couldn't walk down the stairs while I was holding them. I had to go down like on my bum. So we'd make a game out of it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Feedings were on the floor. I always had to be seated on the floor.
Mhm.
So it was a different kind of, they were raised a little bit different, I guess.
Yeah. How did they, have they seen you have a I'm sure they've seen you have a seizure. How
They
did
have not.
they've
They
never
have
seen you have a seizure?
And they have
Your
not. My fa
children? Your
my husband has been very adamant about them not seeing me have a seizure, and he always made sure that they were not in the room.
Wow.
I
Wow,
disagree with
that's a whole
that.
big
Yeah,
deal. No, because your children are in their 20s.
my son will be
It's not like
25 this
these are
year.
little children, right? You never
Right.
had it's not your
They have
son is
never
how old
seen.
again?
He will be 25 this year, my daughter will be 21 this year.
Yeah,
Now I'm referring to the tonic-clonic seizures. They have
right.
seen me have
Yes.
focal aware
Have focal
seizures, but
yeah,
in
or
terms
absent,
of the
yeah.
tonic-clonic seizures, he was very adamant about not having them see me.
Right.
And, I can't do anything about it at that moment.
Yeah. For the audience, again, just that you're listening in, there's 40 different types of seizures. And then as Monica has taught me, is there's 60 different, right, types of that.
There's 20 main types, and that number can go up to 60 with the subclassifications of those 20. So there's
Right.
a lot of different seizures, and
Right,
they
and the
all
tonic
look different.
clonic, maybe you could explain to our audience what the tonic clonic is, because to me, that's the one with the one that my son was having, even breakthrough seizures, even being on 3,000 milligrams of Depakote a day. So,
Oh, wow.
he was having the tonic clonics, which is the one Mike just had last week.
Mhm.
It really wipes you out. You have the biting on the
Yeah.
tongue and the shaking and the convulsing and
Yeah,
yeah.
and so when most people hear the word epilepsy or seizure, it evokes this image of a person
Mhm,
falling or down, is laying on the ground, convulsing violently, right? Maybe some foam coming out of their mouth, and that is a seizure, but that's a convulsion, and that's just one type of seizure. So there's
mhm,
many different types. There's some that are subtle. There's some that there's no outer symptoms where we just feel it. Those are called focal aware seizures. So that not to get too clinical, but there's basically two classifications. You have the focal and the generalized seizures. And the focal aware seizures are where there is some focal aware seizures, there's no impairment of consciousness.
mhm,
There are some focal seizures where there is focal impaired aware
mhm.
consciousness. And then you have the generalized seizures where there is loss of consciousness. So those are the different categories, and under them, you can find more types of seizures, right? Even with tonic-clonic, some people have tonic seizures. Some
Mhm,
people just have clonic seizures. Some
mhm,
people have tonic-clonic seizures. So tonic means when the body gets rigid.
mhm, yeah,
Clonic is when the body starts shaking.
mhm,
Tonic-clonic is when the body does both.
right,
So right
yeah,
there, there's 3 different types. There's absence. Like, I myself have 5 different types of seizures, okay? I have myoclonic seizures, I have tonic-clonic, photosensitive, catamenial, and focal aware seizures. Those are
Mm,
the 5 types that I have,
mhm.
and they're all different.
Yeah, and then coming out of them is all different too. With regard to the the Auraclipse that you started, you were mentioning that you help people tell? Is that kind of how you came up with the name Auraclipse, or how did that come in? How did you come up with
So
that name? Did it have to do with the auras that you wanted people to kind of be aware of and get out ahead of that?
yeah, well, so I have not had a tonic-clonic seizure in 15 years.
So awesome.
But I have focal seizures sometimes daily,
Mm,
sometimes several times a day. So those are the auras. And auras are basically small, invisible focal seizures. So I live like with that aura, okay?
mhm,
And
mhm.
to me, what seizures feel like are like an eclipse.
Mm,
Instead of the moon, it's your brain, and so something is coming, you feel that something is coming, and when you see that it's coming, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, you just kinda have to wait. So
mhm,
this
mhm,
darkness just kinda takes over, the
mhm.
light is gone, right? This is where you lose consciousness, and then suddenly it reemerges. Your brain, like, reboots back, right?
Yeah, it's so
So
crazy.
that's the solar eclipse kind of concept that I think seizures feel like for me. So just kind of put the 2 together, or eclipse. So that's where that came from. And it's basically trying to shine light on epilepsy.
So awesome. I want to remind the audience that now I know it makes me kind of get emotional why you were meant to write the foreword for the book,
Yeah.
Surviving SEDAP. Now I know why. You're so connected to epilepsy. It's been such a lived experience for you, but because of that lived experience, it's the way that you advocate for the epilepsy community. You're
Yes.
really my hero. I want you to know that. Just listening to
Oh,
you, I hope that even a small percentage of the way I sound when I'm advocating for our community is just a small percentage of the way that you do it, because it's not a job for you. I think
no.
as our audience heard at the early beginning, is that, Monica, this isn't her job. She doesn't get paid for this. Like, she's a volunteer that just really cares about our community of epileptics and the caregivers, which is really the biggest thing that Mike saw. Was he also saw that there was a divide
Mhm.
between the caregivers and the epileptics themselves, and how we could bridge, that gap, because he too is living with epilepsy. I'd love to bring you on, Mike, but he's probably feeling like this interview is going so well right now. He probably doesn't want to make that break yet, but because he is an epileptic and he's married,
Mhm.
his wife is that caregiver
Yeah.
that picks him up off the floor, cleans the blood off of his mouth,
And
makes sure
it's
that,
a I
he's
don't
hydrated and
Right,
cared
and I
for.
think a lot of people don't understand that. It affects your marriage. It affects your family dynamic. It's a way of living, and we don't lock doors in this house. You can't lock the doors. So my kids grew up with no one locking
Mhm.
the door. But once the friends come in, they're just like, why can't you lock the door? Or I grew up announcing everything I do. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm going to the garage. I'm going here, and my kids' friends would be like, why does she have to say everywhere? So it's little things like that, that people don't understand. Or if we're out at an event with my husband, he knows when the lights are too bright for me. Um,
Mhm.
I wear sunglasses. When we were dating, I remember I would wear sunglasses at the clubs. People
Mhm.
thought I was doing that because I was cool, not realizing, no, I have seizures. And in order to do this, I have to wear my glasses. So I wear sunglasses throughout the house, sometimes a lot. I'm very sensitive to the light. Hi, Mike.
Yeah. And I want to thank you so much, Monica. Mike, has this not been just a fantastic interview? I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm totally, totally grateful and just blown away at the same time. Mike, I want to bring you in here for a moment, because I'm sure that you have something to speak into with regard to how this affects marriages and families, and your passion as well to kind of bridge this gap between caregivers with education and epileptics. And that really was one of the biggest reasons I'm sure the feed was created. What do you have to say to all of this based on what you've heard for the last 42 minutes?
42 minutes. I like that. She's keeping
Mhm.
count.
I am. I am, because I think we could go on for 2 hours with Monica.
Easily. Absolutely. And definitely got to have you back. No, I
Yeah,
absolutely
for sure.
agree.
Yeah.
Communication is really important. You know, in relationships, always, I think it's real easy to, we can silo ourselves off, right? And we have to remember communication is so important, and talking to the other person and letting them know how you feel. And also, we talk a lot about the communication, but it's also a lot about the listening, right? That's
Mhm.
a really big part. Is if your partner comes to you, for instance, if your partner is a caretaker and you have epilepsy, and they're trying to share with you some of the stuff, some of the burdens that they may carry, it's so important to not feel defensive, not feel offended, not need to voice a disagreement immediately, but allow them to talk and allow them that space to share what they're going through and what they're doing. So you may be able to communicate better to them what you need as somebody going through epilepsy and seizures. And then I think on
Mhm.
the other end, I know it's so hard, especially when you're out of a seizure. It's so hard to express what you're going through, how you're
Mhm.
feeling to people who don't understand and may never understand it. It is so hard. Um, so to have people that will listen, and I tell my epileptic brothers and sisters, we're so angry sometimes, and it's like, I'm not angry at you, my caretaker, which most of the time is my significant other, parent,
Mhm.
somebody who I love, who's very close to me in the real world. I'm not angry at you. I'm not rah. It's that I am in a lot of pain. I'm really suffering. My brain isn't working right. I can't speak right. If I sit down to type, I'm not typing right. The words aren't coming out of my mouth right. And I'm hurting. And like,
Yeah.
also sometimes I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I can't control this thing. And I'm looking at you and you're freaked out because you just saw me go through it.
Mhm.
Right. And
Mhm.
you just put all that together, and you realize it's so important to provide that open space for your caretaker if you're
Mhm.
going through it, for them to share how they feel, and they need to express that, and
Mhm.
you need to know that. You need to know what they're going through. You need to care and understand, because I
Mhm.
promise you, giving care and understanding, it's like a garden. The more you plant care and understanding in your relationships, especially when we're going through stuff like this, literal life threatening things, the more care and understanding will grow from that for you.
Mhm.
I know it's the opposite of what we want to do. We want to scream and yell and cry how angry we are. And why doesn't anybody understand? But it's about giving that
Mhm.
space, listening, and then working with your caretaker a lot of times to kind of communicate to them. If I do come off angry, combative,
Mhm.
upset, it's not that I hate you. It's that I'm going through so much. When
Mhm.
the machine is angry and upset and broken, so anything coming out of it is going to sound that way, but it's not you. And just these are the small things I think we can really do to help, bridge those gaps. So, and I'll
Yeah,
stop talking.
yeah, thank you for that. That's 100% true. And I like to say that I'm beautifully broken. I tell my husband that all the time. Um, but I think living in a state of hypervigilance all the time and always aware of, what's going on. Is that a new sense? Is that an aura? Is that a new feeling? Is that, always in that mode makes us be so alert and conscious of our partner's tones, facial reactions. So they may think that it doesn't mean anything, and it may not, but we tend to take things a different way. So I have found that that has been common with people with epilepsy. Um, And just if you think about where the seizure is occurring in the brain, and sometimes it goes through the areas that are responsible for our emotions. I mean, it makes sense, right? So, like you say, Mike, we don't mean to be combative. We don't mean that tone to come out, maybe, but it does. And so, if there's a little more understanding from our partners, uh,
Mhm.
that we're not always in control of that, that I think that would be very helpful as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Mike, I think you'd probably agree with that too, just because we've had so many different people on. Monica, I want to shift gears here for a minute. How much do you think mental health plays a piece in that? Because I know that you said that at the
Oh,
beginning of the show, and I know that that's something that's huge, within the work that you do for advocacy within our community. What would you want to, educate or bring us up to speed on with regard to mental health and how that plays a piece in this?
I think emotional and mental health are connected, right, to this. Epilepsy is not just the seizure. I mean, the emotional part of it comes into play, and there's not enough talk about that. We deal with a lot of depression. We deal with a lot of PTSD,
Mhm,
having seizures and waking up in places we don't know, not
mhm,
recognizing the faces.
mhm,
All of that is PTSD. It's hard.
mhm,
We live with anxiety, not knowing when are we going to have the next seizure? Who's going to be around me? Will they know how to take care of me? Uh, you know, some of us live with suicide ideation. I think a lot of these comorbidities can be more debilitating than the actual seizures themselves because we may not have a seizure every day, but at least in my case, I'm battling depression, I'm battling suicide ideation, I'm battling anxiety, I'm battling that every single day.
mhm,
And like I said, I haven't had a tonic colic in 15 years,
mhm,
but everything else I am, and I'm not the only one. So being
mhm,
able to let people know you're not alone is number one,
mhm,
and being able to let them know what you're feeling is real and
mhm,
validating that experience.
mhm,
You're not crazy. What you're feeling is real. And even if you think
mhm,
there's no reason to feel this way, there's a lot that's going on with our brain chemistry, just with the having epilepsy, and then you add the medicines onto that,
mhm,
side effects of medications. Um,
mhm,
it's a lot. It's a lot. So, I
mhm,
mean, there's anxiety with going to sleep every night and not knowing if suit up is gonna happen. Am I gonna wake up tomorrow?
mhm,
And then waking up and being blessed and happy and grateful that you are awake, but
mhm,
then the depression hits in, you
mhm,
know, and the anxiety hits in. Am I gonna
Can I
have
just
one tonight?
yeah, that's the silent battle
yeah.
that a lot of epileptics,
Mhm,
especially male epileptics, deal with. And
mhm,
that is that it's so hard. You want to, I mean, okay, you don't ever want to look at anyone and tell the truth, sort of, kind of,
mhm, mhm,
right? So, Monica, it's like, hey, so, Thursday we'll do this. And it's like, yeah, unless I have debilitating depression, unless it is all I can do to get through my day and my obligations of my
mhm,
day.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
And then I'm exhausted because I've been fighting this emotional
mhm,
battle all day silently. No one sees that. Really, I don't even want to put on anyone because I know
mhm,
tomorrow will be different. I know it is just my emotions and that medicine. And it's something that it's important for folks to know that doctors don't always tell you. If you take Keppra, if you take Vimpat, if you take a lot of these
mhm,
things,
mhm,
it doesn't say sort of, kind of. It doesn't say may, will cause depression and more than
mhm.
likely cause suicidal thoughts.
Right.
And that silent battle that we fight. Because when we do get anybody to listen, it's so important we share, we kind of have to share our symptoms and what we're going
Mhm,
through
mhm,
physically so they can kind of help us. That is so hard. And a lot of times we never even breach the topic of the suicidal thoughts and the
that's huge.
depression
Yeah.
and the things that we
Mhm,
just are lucky to deal with.
mhm,
We
mhm,
just we're dealt
mhm,
that hand, and some days you don't
mhm,
know. It sucks to really not know how I'm gonna wake up. Is it gonna be
mhm,
so hard tomorrow, and I'm gonna be sitting
mhm,
there and on my third cup of coffee wondering why I'm alive and how
mhm,
stupid I am? and how much better everyone I love would be if I'm not here. And what
Mhm.
am I going to give them in the next 10 years to deal
Yeah.
with? And if I love them, why am I in their life really? Right.
Mhm.
And then, you have to understand that that's a lie, that is literal mental illness. That is literally a bad side effect from
Mhm.
bad medicine.
Mhm.
And you have to
Mhm.
work yourself out of it. But it's a battle you may face, and an extremely exhaustive emotional battle that you're dealing with from 8:15 to
Mhm.
8:30 in the morning. And that's it. You're still
Correct.
tired. You still got beat up that day.
Mhm.
And by
Mhm.
noon, you're exhausted. And people don't
Yeah.
know it's because of that 8:15 to 8:30 battle that you had to do to be able to be out of the house by 8:45.
Correct.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I just want folks to know we feel it. We feel the energy.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's there and it's this
Mhm.
invisible disability. You look at me and people are like, what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you. You
Mhm.
know, and when I did compete, as you mentioned, I was a bodybuilder. People were like, what's wrong with you? Well, I went up there representing my disability and my epilepsy community, right?
Mhm.
Um, but what's going on inside? It's a battle, like you say, every day. And depression is not, oh, I'm sad. No,
Mhm.
it's dark. It's
Mhm.
dark depression, and it's like
Mhm.
spiraling down, and
Mhm.
it's like trying to get yourself out of that. Because the fact of the matter is, at least for me, I'm not trying to end my life. I love my life.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's battling those thoughts that
Mhm.
are being provoked by either this illness or the medication. So it's a constant battle
Mhm.
every single
Mhm.
day, with yourself. And it's kind of like your
Mhm.
body and your brain are against you, almost kind of feel. So
Mhm.
it's learning. I mean, Mike, the fact that you can recognize that this isn't you and this is coming from a
Mhm.
place of medication is huge because
Mhm.
there's people that are
Mhm.
not even at that step yet, and those are the ones that are like, they concern me because they need to be aware, like, hey, this is real and it's not talked about enough. And it's okay to feel this way. It's okay if you feel this way
Mhm.
because, like you say, tomorrow I may feel completely different.
Mhm.
So when I go to the office to visit the physician and he gives me that little chart with the little smiley faces
Mhm.
and says, how do I feel today? And I
Mhm.
say, I feel fine. I'm not lying because I may feel fine,
Mhm.
but in 3 days, I may not be fine,
Mhm.
and it becomes our norm where to me, feeling this way is feeling fine.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if I step outside myself, it's like, yeah, that's not fine. You need help, So there's a lot of mental health concerns that come into it. I think you need to find an outlet. For me,
Mhm.
it's working out. For me, it's art. It's being able to just
Mhm.
do something, get moving, do something, and that makes you feel so much better. I really think that community talking, I mean, what you guys are doing is amazing. You're helping so many people.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
want to thank you. Can I and that's my advice. I got to say,
Mhm.
if you are suffering from this, get involved, because one of the most powerful
Mhm.
things,
I think
I've
so
been going
too.
about
Yeah.
7 years with,
Mhm.
seizures and epilepsy officially diagnosed. And the most effective thing I have done, literally, for my condition is getting involved, is the F.E.E.D and
Good.
Faces of
Mhm.
Epilepsy and
Mhm.
Lisa and Alyssa. We miss you, Alyssa.
Yes.
And my brother Enrique
Mhm.
and Harold and
Mhm.
Curtis and now we have, like, I have a purpose, right? Like, I have a purpose with my people.
I
I
have a
have a
purpose with my people.
Yes,
With my purple people. I love it.
exactly. We have
It sounds
I
like
have
a
a very good
mantra.
friend. His name Rudy Martinez. We call him the boat, Rudy Botello Martinez. And he used to be a cholo. He's a grown cholo now. I love him because he still has the stash and the flat brim hat, you know what I mean? And but he's like a single father and very put together, but you can tell he comes, just like, we joke around. I definitely come from back in the day, the hood where I grew up. He used to be a cholo, but he suffered from seizures.
Mm.
And I asked him to come sit in on a Friday night hangout live stream that we do, which you're always
Mhm.
invited, by the way.
Thank
But
you.
I asked him to come hang out on a live stream, and it changed his life just about 3 weeks ago. And he was almost in tears. And he was like, I didn't even realize I needed to talk about this. And then I didn't realize there was a way to talk about it. And I didn't realize how effective and powerful it could be for me to talk about it. And this is what, it's kind of why I get up now. You know what I mean? I got young dudes who may have been guests on the show that are calling me just for encouragement. You know what I mean? I got my homies, and we got our podcast to do, and we got people to reach, and we got books to write, and we have a ministry to touch people with, and we're working on our employment agency to help
that's going to
epileptics
be huge.
work. Maybe they're stuck homebound. We can get them jobs. We are going to be set up where if they have a seizure, need to take 5 days off, they don't get fried from any roles. We've set that up and taken care of that, and we have other people to fill those needs. We've built a relationship.
We need to talk more about that, because I would love to collaborate with you guys on all that. Yeah, that's it. I have a lot of people that come to the support group that feel that way. They're like, what is the point? Why am I here? What's my worth? And it's like, no, are you kidding me? Like, you're here for so many reasons.
We need you. We need you.
I can't find a job. I can't, and I will say that having epilepsy as a man and as a woman, there are differences. There are differences. I've heard that. And there's just so much. There's so much to talk about when it comes to epilepsy. But there is a lot that we can do, So if you're someone that's thinking, why am I here? Hey, we're all here. You're not alone. There's so many of us.
If you're seeing this and you're wondering why you're here, come to the Faces of Epilepsy group on Facebook. Join it, because you're here for me. I need you. I need you. Right? Like, we have a group.
And sometimes, so sometimes, like, the group needs you, and sometimes you need the group. So just being there in that community is going to give you the support, all the way around. This has just been so amazing today. Just absolutely, absolutely amazing. I'm so blessed, Monica, that you're going to be doing the foreword for the Surviving Setup book. I hope that
you're so excited to see that
many more times. I know there's way more that we need to talk about and do. And you've just been such a tremendous blessing today. I know that there's going to be a lot of value that's going to be created in this community between all the work that you're doing, with all of your reset and Auraclipse, and just is there any last things, thoughts that you would want to share that we didn't cover today that you feel like?
Oh my goodness,
really the audience?
There's so much, right? We didn't even cover nutrition, really. There's so much, but I'm excited to be back whenever you guys want. This was fun. This was amazing. So anytime you want me back, I'm here. I'm looking forward to doing more collaborations with you guys. Because I'm also working with the service dogs, and there's so much.
Yes. Is Moki around at all, or no?
He's
near you?
Sleeping. Or? No, I don't have him in here because I don't want him barking.
Yes. Oh my gosh, he has the cutest little service dog.
One of my programs is Purple Paw Connections, where I help match people that are looking for service alert dogs or companion dogs. I think companionship is really important, and these little dogs, they change your lives. For me, my parents always had a dog that would alert them when I would have a seizure. So they're very important, and I still have one, as you met, Moki. That's one of the programs. So I invite you to go to Auraclipse and check it out and see everything we have.
Yes, make sure. I want everybody to go and visit your Instagram, which is so amazing.
My Instagram at Monology.
Just lay out all your handles right now so everybody can go and stalk your pages. What are they?
My Instagram is Moniology, and that one is just basically kind of just showing people that you can live life with epilepsy. I try to live my life to the fullest that I can with the limitations that I have, so I go on there and I'm just sharing my life and some of the things that I do so that you can see that it is possible.
Okay. And then you're on Facebook. I know you have a group on Facebook too.
We have a Las Vegas Facebook that goes for our support group, and that's called Rising Together. with epilepsy in Las Vegas. So if you are in Las Vegas, I invite you to join our Facebook group. I invite you to come out to our peer support group, which is in collaboration with the Epilepsy Foundation of Nevada. I am on the advisory board of the Epilepsy Foundation of Nevada. And we always just have events going on all the time. So yeah, go on there and check it out.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
stalk
Lisa.
her, stalk
Thank you so
her.
much.
Stalk her. So make sure you go to all of those handles. And I love your Instagram too. It's so amazing, all the things that you're doing. And you're just such a beautiful person inside and out. I'm so excited to work with you with all the seizure safety going forward. And that is it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an amazing time today. Mike, thank you for jumping on with us. And we love you from the F.E.E.D. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Ah, he's got your stuff up real quick. Okay, let's see. There we go. Epilepsy Pet Support Monthly Meet. Okay, great. Is this, you have an event coming up?
That one's not up yet, but we do have
yesterday?
we have a Mom Mimosa and Paws event coming up for National Mom Dog Day, which is March 9th, or I'm sorry, May 9th.
May 9th. Okay.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
I can put all that stuff up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, there you see some of the stuff Mike's got on the screen for everybody. So please, you can also go into my friends and see Monica and my friends and follow her and just get connected. But we love you guys. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.